For the past few years, there's been a lot of discussion and scrutiny about Disney adults, calling us cringe and pointing out how weird we are. And if you couldn't tell by my channel, I just so happen to be a Disney adult. This isn't a video defending our right to love Disney, but more of an explanation. The videos I see online are people making fun of us for crying once we see the castle, or people showing us how expensive just a one-day pass is and pointing out how ridiculous we are. And you know what? You're right. Now, this isn't made to change your mind or to convert you, but rather give you some insight from someone who is actually a part of this community. I'm not here to defend the company and their practices. I'm fully aware they're a soulless corporation. Of course, I'm purely speaking for myself, but I'm sure there's some percentage of people who could relate in some form. But let's start from the very beginning, since no one is born just a Disney adult. I find that you're either in one of two camps. Either you went to the parks when you were younger and it made an impact on your life, or you grew up loving the movies and maybe their family wasn't interested in going, or the most common reason, just couldn't afford to go. Those people, once they got some expendable income, made their childhood dreams a reality and wanted to give their family the experience they couldn't have when they were younger. The first camp is the one that I belong to. My family had a timeshare in Florida and we went every year from 1984 to 1998. So to say the parks had an impact on my childhood is an understatement. I'm gonna tell a quick story because I feel it sums up why we keep going back to the same place that costs way too much money. It's not a crazy story with some wild ending, but I think it'll help make the point that I'm trying to make, and I think it'll tie in well with the final synopsis. We stopped going to Disney when I got older and went to visit family in South Carolina instead. My dad started missing the parks when I got into my 20s and asked if I wanted to go back with him. Once we went back, it's like nothing had ever changed. We had an amazing time, except something was a little off. I couldn't help to feel like something was missing. No matter what we were doing or what ride we were on, I couldn't help to feel like I should be enjoying myself even more than I was. After all, this was the happiest place on earth and the place I literally grew up in. In 2018, I got a promotion at my job and decided to get an annual pass. I would go with friends and family whenever I was able to take vacation, but since I was going more often, the people I usually went with couldn't always find the time. So I did what any sane person would do. I decided to take a few trips by myself. I know that sounds weird, mostly because it is, but I did make some new friends and did things whenever I wanted to do them. But waiting on lines like Small World and Winnie the Pooh were still pretty awkward. Despite all the fun I was having, I still felt like something was missing. I couldn't just enjoy the ride I was on, rather thinking about the next fast pass I had to make or what time I'd be eating my next meal, never really enjoying the moment that I was currently in. One night while I was in Epcot getting off of Frozen Ever After, I was heading back towards the parking lot right before the fireworks. I saw all the vendors that would line World Showcase with their cheap light up toys, and I always remember bugging my parents for one. And that's when it hit me. It's probably the most obvious realization ever, and it seems stupid to say out loud that I didn't think of it sooner. I was chasing the memories that I used to have rather than enjoying the new ones I was making. To sum this all up, I realized the attractions that I loved are forever tied with the memories that I have of them. To me, something like Living with the Land isn't just a boat ride. I can recall vividly when I was little while in the rainforest scene, me and my mom saw the giant ladybug beetle thing on the tree, and we both pointed out at the exact same time saying, I don't remember that from last year. So I'll think of my mom whenever I'm on that ride. Every roller coaster reminds me of my dad because he's the only one that would go on them. So me and my mom would go hang out and do something else for like an hour. Tutto Italia, the restaurant in Epcot, is my grandparents. My grandmother immigrated to this country in 1920, and she sang along with the people who go table to table singing to entertain guests. My grandfather, who was notoriously cheap, literally almost fell out of his chair when he saw the price of the bill. I did get yelled at for making a scene that day. I don't really remember the details, but all I know is that I got in trouble. Long story long, these attractions aren't just rides. It's like visiting a family member you haven't seen in a long time. I mean, at least it is for me. I really can't speak for anyone else, but I know at least one of my friends said something similar when we were having a discussion about the parks. So yes, is it weird to like a theme park as much as we do? I'm not really denying that. But we all have hobbies or things we collect. It's the same thing for people who collect sports memorabilia, video games, or even cars. Whatever you loved as a child, you try to recapture that magic as an adult. And for better or worse, our obsession will cost us $109 to $159 per day depending on the month we go. and will also open you up for criticism for getting sentimental on the internet. But thank you for watching.